This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Tuesday, August 30th, 2016. And the title of this rant will be Turkey Bombs U.S. Allies in Syria. Yes, that's what happened in the last week. All right, and this is very significant. Let's go back just a teeny bit to 2014. So in 2014, Daesh, ISIL took hold in northern Syria, extended over into Iraq, took over Mosul. Obama had called it the JV team. And one of the reasons that it got a fair amount of traction is, number one, they appealed to a lot of terrorists to come in from other countries to come in. A lot of them came from eastern and southern the Stan countries, which used to be a part of Russia. And then others came in from the United States. Others came in from Indonesia. Others came in from Europe. But how did they get there? They got there through Turkey, because Turkey had a very porous border with Syria. And the Turks were okay with that, because they were making money on their side of the border, transporting terrorists into Syria to be part of the so-called caliphate of Daesh. They were also allowing gasoline and, let's just say, arms and let's just even say food, supplies, oil, etc., to go into northeastern Iraq to supply Daesh in their quest to become a caliphate in northern Syria and in northern Iraq. At the same time, the Kurds, who are a separate race of people that occupy portions of southeastern Turkey, northeastern Syria, and parts of Iraq and Iran, would like nothing more to have their own homeland, to have their own independent country. They were the ones who were first going against Daesh, because technically they were part of their land. And of course, everything that was going on in Syria at the time was that we wanted Assad out. And at the same time, Daesh sort of did too, because they wanted to make it their caliphate, the whole thing. But Turkey let their borders be porous. So it was okay for Turkey for that to happen. And it was okay for, in terms of Turkey's terms, for Daesh to be against the Kurds, because the Kurds were a natural enemy to the Turks, because there was a portion of the Kurds who were actually terrorists trying to get an independence from that portion of northeastern Turkey. So what is going on right now is that there's been a lot of terrorism in Turkey, and we saw a failed coup attempt in Turkey, and a number of different terrorist actions in Turkey in the last couple months. The president has struck down on that quite a bit. We don't know if he's going against any type of human rights abuses that may be going on there, but there probably is. But he has sort of decided that he has decided to tighten up his borders with Daesh, and then to actively go after them. Now remember, the president of Turkey also had a little head-on-head meeting, a tete-on-tete meeting with Putin in the last month or two. And Putin, who is actively involved in Syria, wants al-Assad to stay. So it sort of sounds like Turkey is okay with al-Assad to stay, because they want stability. They do not want this type of terrorism going back and forth from their borders anymore. So Turkey recently made an incursion of their troops into Syria. What were they doing in Syria? Well, the first thing they did is they got rid of a town that had ISIL in it, but the ISIL, they just sort of faded away and they moved on. But then they went and started bombing two small towns that had Kurds in it. And guess what? Their Kurds are our U.S. allies. They are our main U.S. allies in terms of troops on the ground in Syria and in northern Iraq to go against ISIL. So we have these troops embedded in there. What would have happened if Turkey had bombed the Kurds and U.S. soldiers had actually died in that bombing? Yeah, where would that be right now? And it became so significant that the special envoy of Obama's, who works through the State Department, through the Defense Department, etc., tweeted on several occasions that it was unacceptable to go after, to go into Syria where ISIL was not located. So this is a big, big thing. So we possibly now have the Turks, who we wanted to have on our side, who want Daesh out of there, who are going into Syria, clearing out Daesh in some areas, but then using that opportunity to go after the Kurds, who have U.S. soldiers embedded with them. And if any U.S. soldiers were to die, what would happen there? And at the same time, the president of Turkey apparently has made kissy face with Putin, and maybe he's going to be accepting of al-Assad to staying in power as long as there's let's say security or there's peace in that northeastern area of Iraq. Then we have the Kurds, who the U.S. is supplying, who the U.S. is doing most of their fighting to get rid of ISIL, both in northern Syria and in northern Iraq. And remember, there's another thing that's coming up, is that it appears as if possibly around the time of the election that the Iraqi government may be going back into, maybe trying to retake Mosul, which was a city of what, about 800,000 or a million in northern Iraq, which at one particular time is mostly Kurd occupied. I won't say Kurd occupied, but mostly Kurds that are in there. And that when ISIL came in, Mosul was being defended by Shia militias or government agents in Mosul. Daesh came in, who are mostly Sunni, and they cut and ran. And remember one other thing, that when Daesh first got it going, the money was coming to supply them. Money was coming from Saudi Arabia. Money was coming from the United Arab Emirates. Money was coming from Qatar. It was taking a roundabout loop. And where was it coming into Syria from? It was coming into Syria from Turkey. Yeah. So we got all of that going on. And remember, let's not forget that right now, that in southern Yemen, there's still a lot of activity going on where the Saudis are using our munitions to bomb the crap out of the Yemens. And remember, before Daesh came in 2016, the United States always said that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula was the gravest threat going on right there. So that's all of that's going on. And on one last aside note, for anyone to even remotely close to believe that if Donald Trump became president, that he would go in there and bomb the crap out of ISIL and everything would be hunky-dory. No, that ain't gonna happen. You know, it looks like this will be a long, long slog, and we need to have our, let's just say, allies, and we need to work for a solution. Hopefully that solution will involve a democratic Syria and a stepping away of power and also possibly exile for al-Assad. Unfortunately, part of that deal will probably involve him not having to face a trial for crimes against humanity. But this incursion by the Turks into Syria, getting rid of ISIL in one town, but then bombing in another town to get rid of the Kurds, very important thing that's going on. Need to keep a close watch on that.